Welcome to Digital Health Today, the place to be to get the insights of leaders making the healthcare of tomorrow available today. I'm Dan Kendall, the founder of Digital Health Today, and I'm really pleased to be here to kick off the second season of the Digital Therapeutics Podcast. We have a wonderfully talented host for the series. He's a serial intra and entrepreneur, executive, venture builder, speaker, and board advisor with a focus in digital health. He's also the COO and co-founder at YourCoach.Health, the leading health coaching ecosystem working to deliver the power of health coaching to the world's population. He's using his voice to make some noise about the exciting things happening in healthcare and specifically in digital therapeutics. He's my friend and probably yours too, Eugene Borukhovich. Eugene, welcome to the program.
Wow, I feel like I just walked on a huge stage, which actually podcasts are that. And it was amazing to do this, limited series last year with you, because I realized that for every single episode, it is like walking onto a stage of the old Health 2.0 or Vive with thousands of people. So happy to be here again.
Excellent. Well, let's jump into it. You did a limited series last year. It launched on January 5th, 2021. So deep into the pandemic, you had your own podcast and continue to do your own podcast on Shot of Digital Health, which I tune into regularly and really applaud your work and diligence there with Jim Joyce of Health Beacon to get that content out on a weekly basis for a considerable amount of time now. How many episodes are you up to on Shot of Digital Health?
We're just a little bit shy of 100.
About 100 episodes there on Shot of Digital Health. Encourage listeners to go check that out. Your limited series on Digital Health Today, the Digital Therapeutics Edition, just tremendous response. You had this launched for 23 episodes over 6 months. You've had over 50,000 downloads. Just from external metrics, it seems like this has been a great success. How's it felt to you?
As you know, when we spoke about this, I've been a tremendous fan from my life sciences days of digital therapeutics. And, I always said, I think in the limited series was that I'm not a practitioner of DTX. I don't know what it takes in the front lines, but I love talking to brilliant people that are driving, creating new industries, especially the ones that are impacting positively, health consumers and patients. And to me, digital therapeutics is one of those modalities, and there's actually many modalities within the DTX now that holds, true promise for better outcomes. And we've been seeing some of those outcomes in the last years. And so, I think in short, when you and I sat down to partner up on this, the goal for it was to really be able to bring those trailblazers and change agents of this industry and help them tell their stories, and not just to the DTX echo chamber of the community, but broader, which is what podcasts are allowing us to do. And then, part of why we did this as limited series, I think some of you that do know me, I joined Marina, my wife, in January of 2020 to build out and scale YourCoach.Health. When getting into running a startup, but at the same time, doing something that you're really passionate about, like a podcast that we did together, it all does take time. What I realized quickly, and this is why we set this up as limited series, right? Because I needed to understand what it really takes as a novice in the industry, what it takes to prep for it, what it takes to run it. And with your and your team's help, honestly, you guys made it really, really smooth, right? And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we paused for a while, and then I'll probably pause here.
Well, what was some of the feedback that you got from people? Because I've seen the reviews on Apple Podcasts and I've seen some of the comments by emails, but you must have a lot of conversations where people say to you, hey, I really enjoyed this. What are some of the things that you're hearing from people about the Digital Therapeutics Podcast?
First of all, it's been really, really a humbling experience, right? The feedback, let's put it this way. When the last episode aired, when we put it out there, I don't even remember how many messages I got, both on LinkedIn, Twitter DMs, emails, WhatsApp messages. When is season 2 coming, right? I really was just astounded, taken aback, humbled. I can't even come up with words. That's, from the chamber of the ecosystem itself, right? Now, what was the most impactful for me is when patients were reaching out to me over the same network saying, hey, I listened to episode XYZ, right? and I started using, the platform or inquired more about it, how it helped me with my IBS as an example, right? Digging into non-molecular therapies for my kids with ADHD and et cetera. So that to me was really eye-opening. I honestly did not think that this would go beyond kind of the venture capital community, the core healthcare community, and then, of course, as we're all drinking our own Kool-Aid in the DTX community, this reached end consumers and patients of, these amazing tools and platforms and companies and businesses that all of these entrepreneurs have been building. So it's been really humbling. I keep saying that word.
Well, I know exactly how you feel because that's some of the feedback that I got when I started Digital Health Today back in 2016, when I would get emails from people across the continent of Africa and places where I would never have a chance to accidentally bump into and speak with someone and share with them any of the conversations that we've had virtually through podcasts. But because the podcast has existed, it's been able to reach people that I'll never have a chance to meet in person. And the response is really amazing. And to get that sort of feedback, not just from industry colleagues like what you mentioned, but also from people who have discovered things because they're out there searching for it. And the thing is, I've always said this to people, when you're creating podcasts, you're competing for attention. People have a limited amount of time. And when people can see your podcast and decide to opt in, that they want to be a part of the audience for that, and they decide to give their attention to the conversations that you're leading, I just think it's a really powerful thing. And especially with, as you mentioned, when people are looking for solutions for themselves or for their loved ones. And this DTX industry really needs this. And I was so excited when you said you wanted to do this back in late 2020. I thought this is perfect because we've been going to these meetings for years. There are people who have already drunk the Kool-Aid and signed up for the newsletter and bought the t-shirt, but we need to get out of those chambers. And your podcast is a way to reach out to people and give them information they can consume while they're having a cup of coffee, exercising, driving, or just doing things when their hands are busy, but their mind is free. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for agreeing to do season 2. So in season 1, we kind of looked at that as a foundational piece, right? You were going to sort of lay a foundation around digital therapeutics. So that's out there, over 50,000 downloads, and people I'm sure will continue to download that and learn from those speakers and those episodes. What's in store for season 2? What are some of the things that you want to tackle in season 2?
I think lots and lots has changed since the last episode aired last June. Lots of advancements. And of course, I'm not going to go listing them all now. We're going to have a kickoff episode that you guys should go and all subscribe to the DTX podcast and maybe even re-listen to the first one, the limited series one. The way I'm looking at the DTX industry and how it's evolving, the clinical evidence and more focus on that clinical evidence, whether you go prescription or non-prescription. We do want to continue telling some of the stories of the trailblazers and some of the newcomers. There's been tremendous amount of awesome entrepreneurs entering the space. And then I think the other aspect and a key aspect is, commercialization and adoption, right? So you will hear from people, including the companies that we will have on and the leaders from this space, is what's really happening on the ground from commercialization, adoption, clinical evidence. So really looking forward to it. There's a manuscript typically for a book. I don't know if I've coined the term, but I've been calling it a podscript. So the podscript is ready. We'll be shifting things here and there, but overall, just really, really looking forward to speaking to some amazing individuals.
And of course, we have to mention that part of the reason we're able to do this season 2 is because we've been able to have a wonderful partner that we're working with. So let's talk a little bit about the partner. And actually, we've heard from this partner before, right?
Yeah. One quick step back to the limited series. We had some of the, early leaders and movers and shakers in the industry. And one of the gentlemen that I met years ago, he's gone through WellDoc and to now Amalgam, Chris Bergstrom. So we did have him on. As a matter of fact, out of the 23 episodes in the last season, this one was in the top of the list as far as the listens are concerned. And I think part of it is maybe the title as well, which was very intriguing if I would just come across. And it was New Breed of DTX may not be a DTX at all. And so, Chris Bergstrom and Ryan Sisko, thank you, both gentlemen and your team, for being a presenting partner. You will hear more from Amalgam and the team there as the season goes on. So really looking forward to working with you as the presenting partner.
Thanks for bringing up that episode. We'll make sure we link to that in the show notes so everybody can go back and listen to that conversation you had with Chris. Now, last season, you also had a question each episode from Brian Dolan, who sort of posed a journalistic question. He was your digital health detective, I think you called him. So what are you going to do this season? Is Brian coming back? Or are you going to do something different with those sorts of questions?
No, so Brian and I are in constant contact, and I'm still, heavily using exits and outcomes and doing my research and reading up and reading, every newsletter that I get. I love every moment and a happy subscriber. As we talked about earlier, kind of setting the foundation was the limited series. As we get into more clinical and commercial traction, and while Brian is absolutely tracking all of that, we will have a new partner. And as I, by the way, learned maybe not journalistic skills, I will never pretend I'm anywhere near Brian, but I do have much more comfort level now asking some of those tougher questions. But I need now help on clinical and commercialization side. And so there will be a new person joining, and that will be, I will leave everybody that's listening hanging, but it's probably a face and a voice that's very familiar to many avid listeners already. But we'll announce that as we go along and as we cross that bridge.
You're going to leave us hanging here. You're not going to tell us who it is.
Of course, because otherwise, how else are we going to get you, the listener, at the end of the day, subscribe, aside from listening to the limited series from last year and loving it?
All right. Well, make sure you hit that follow and subscribe button on your podcast app. Make sure you get that episode so you can find out who the partner in crime will be here with Eugene. So actually, just one other thing I wanted to mention. I understand you're getting into digital therapeutics yourself. I saw a press release that YourCoach and Mission-Based Media are doing a press release. Let's talk about that.
Well, I will say that please note that this was done on April 1st. So that's one thing. I don't know if you want to actually fill in, because this was a mission-based, great, fantastic initiative. So
you know what it is, Eugene? Every year on April 2nd, I think about what a great April Fool's joke it would have been to do something else. And last year on April 2nd, I had the idea, I missed the window, but I wrote it in my calendar for this year. So this is just great timing that we were able to put out that press release about a digital therapeutic that YourCoach.Health and Mission-Based Media are creating together to try to get more people creating podcasts and doing a better job to overcome podcast hesitancy and poor audio quality to create podcasts. So that was fun putting that out there. If you missed it, go to our blog page on Digital Health Today or look at LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll see it on Eugene's and my profiles. It was a little bit of fun to put it out there. And also it was great because, we want to generate more awareness for what you're doing here on season 2 and the fact that digital therapeutics has an important role to play, maybe not so much in podcasting, but in helping people in healthcare.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the lead on that. I know we sort of bounced some of these ideas and, just to very, very quickly add on it. And this is kind of our hypothesis at YourCoach.Health. While digital therapies are absolutely amazing, our logo at YourCoach and the meaning of the logo is Hito, which is a person and a person to lean on, right? And so this is where, real human tech augmented coaches do come in, and building those bonds and relationships surrounding, digital therapies, digital health companies, products, services, et cetera. So we're happy to do that press release. And while on one extent it's a joke, on the other extent, the struggle is real out there, maybe not so much on the podcast creation and listening, but certainly as the health consumers are going through their life journeys.
Excellent. Well, listen, Eugene, we're looking forward to everything that's in store for season 2. Thank you very much for our presenting partner, Amalgam, for supporting the creation of this second season, and for all of the other contributing partners that we'll be announcing in the weeks to come. Really appreciate your leadership. I know this is something that you struggled with in terms of not the creation of it, but really being the authentic health professional and leader that you are, that you have been for decades, dare I say it, that I know that taking on this mantle of this media personality was not something that necessarily felt like a jacket like you instantly fit into right away. But I really appreciate you combining your skills and your leadership and your vision as a health professional and bringing it to this medium, which is a wonderful way to just be able to influence so many more people. And Eugene, I can say this as a friend and as an admirer of yours. I've seen your activities for years before I ever had the chance to meet with you. in person and get to know you. You are a tremendous asset for the industry. You have touched so many lives and encouraged so many professionals to reach for the stars. And I really appreciate you doing that. And I mean that in a heartfelt, sincere way, because I know so many people who are listening to this have that same sort of opinion of you. And I appreciate you taking your time from all of your other responsibilities and the thousands of ways you could spend your hours each week, and for taking on the leadership of making sure this content exists so we can feed the entire sector and try to do more good through your words and through the people you're speaking with. So thank you.
Dan, thank you for the kind words. And you've been an instigator and supporter of getting into wearing that jacket. And your team and yourself have made it really easy, by the way. So appreciate the time and the dedication of the team at Mission Based.
Excellent. Podcast Instigator. I'm going to see if that domain name is available. Listen, Eugene, thanks so much, everybody. Tune into season 2 of Digital Therapeutics. Thank you to Amalgam for making this possible. Thanks, Chris, for your leadership and support. And be sure to hit follow and subscribe. See you on the other side.